The second permanent raid of PokeMMO is here, and wow, is it a tough one. Hey guys, Jinx here, and today I'll walk you through how you're going to get through it and get your very own Cresselia. I'll start by going through the mechanics of the fight, the builds you're going to take to this fight, the very important setup steps to execute the strategy, and finally I'll show you an example of how the fight goes with a turn-by-turn strategy. Make sure you watch the whole video all the way through to the end because there's a lot more intricacies to this fight than usual, so you'll need to know how it actually works to work effectively with your team. First, let's get into the mechanics of the fight. The major and most important mechanic of the fight is called Mirror Bind. This has a couple of effects. The first one is that if one Mon dies, all other Pokemon of the same species on the team will also go down. For example, if all 4 members have a Blissey, when one Blissey gets knocked out, all 4 will get knocked out at the same time. This includes those even off the field. The other effect of this mechanic is that when you send a Mon out, it will give you -2 speed, -1 attack, and -1 special attack for every one of the same species on your raid team. Again, even if they are off the field at the time. So if all your members bring a Blissey, and when one of you throws out a Blissey, it will immediately drop to -6 speed, -3 attack, and -3 special attack, because they're the other 3 Blisseys on your team. The next mechanic is another one that lasts throughout the entire fight. This is actually a new mechanic in all raids, but it's much more relevant in this one. If one Mon is left on the field for too long, the boss fiercely fights against it. This means that if one Mon is left out for 4 turns, it will get targeted more often and will be with guaranteed critical hits. If it survives this and lasts to the 5th turn, it'll immediately get OHKO'd by the boss. It'll also use Calm Mind around 80% and again around 30%, which gives it plus special attack, which can be an issue in this fight. I'll show you how to deal with that shortly. The next mechanic that'll play a major role in our strategy is that at 75.9% HP, it begins an effect where you have to alternate physical and special attacks. If you use 2 physical attacks in a row, the second one will not do anything. I'll get to this shortly, but this is why it's absolutely vital to ensure that you have no speed ties in your team. You need to ensure that you know the turn order so that you can alternate your physical and special moves throughout the fight. Later in the fight, you'll also need to alternate typing as well. So for example, you can't use Assurance followed by Dark Pulse, because even though one's physical and one's special, they're both dark type. We will have to alternate both physical and special and your typing. At 66.9%, Cresselia will set a permanent Trick Room. This actually works pretty well for us because of the Mirror Bind mechanic. If we coordinate to have the same Mons as our teammates, we can boost our speed to -6 upon entry. So we'll actually go first in this permanent Trick Room. Other than that, there's not really any major mechanics to watch out for. Next is the ads. Luckily, there are set ads in this fight, so no more resetting 100 times before getting the perfect ads before you can even get to the fight. It'll always be a Drought Ninetales and a Chlorophyll Lilligant. The main things to watch out for here are the burn chances from Ninetales Flamethrower on our physical Mons, and the foul play that can hit our first damage dealer Bisharp pretty hard. Next, let's take a look at the builds. The builds for this are surprisingly budget friendly. Some things to be aware of is 31 special defense and HP is absolutely mandatory across all Mons beyond turn 1. As you will see soon, this strat relies on a single Mon not getting targeted down. If there are 4 Blisseys out and they all have the exact same special defense stat, the AI will see no difference in targeting, so it'll just target randomly, splitting the damage across them. Whereas if you have one Blissey with 31 special defense and a different one with 29 special defense IV, the AI, even though there's only a 2 IV difference, will be incentivized to target the lower special defense one much more, leading to all 4 getting knocked out when the slightly squishier one gets knocked out. So you must absolutely make sure that all of your Pokemon have 31 special defense IV and 252 special defense EV along with the special defense nature as specified. If you have a speed tie that needs to be fixed, do it by removing a couple of attack EVs or HP EVs. Do not remove your special defense EVs. You may lose a tiny bit of damage or HP, but you won't mess with the AI targeting. You may get a bad RNG run where one randomly gets targeted down more often, but by using Mons with the exact same SPDF, we can remove the AI targeting issues much more. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at the specific build, starting with the turn 1 Mons. On the left side, you'll start by setting out a Hippowdon, holding a Smooth Rock with Sandstream. It'll use the moves Captivate and Helping Hand. It just needs to survive to turn 2, so any IVs are fine, and you want 252 SPDF EVs. Just avoid a minus special defense nature. Avoid super bulky SPDF ones, otherwise it might actually survive too long. You want it to survive 4 Psychics from Cresselia perfectly, just to tank the hits while your Bisharps get their first attacks in. If yours is too tanky, just remove your HP and SPDF EVs until it dies smoothly as I specify a little later on. The next mon out with Hippo is a squishy Trickmon. A low SPDF prankster Sableye works great for this, but any fast squishy trick user should work. Put a Toxic Orb on it and trick the Expert Belt off of Cresselia and leave it poisoned for some extra chip damage. On the right side, we're going to send out a hidden ability, Lightning Rod Plusle with Skill Swap. This will skill swap onto Lilligant, shutting down Cresselia's Thunderbolt throughout the fight. This removes the paralysis from being a factor in the fight, and also allows Bisharp to survive longer, removing the neutral damage attack. Go max speed for this one, but no other stats really matter since it's going to go down immediately. The last one out on turn 1 is a Rotom Heat with Light Clay and Light Screen. Adjust your speed so that you have a speed stat right in between 270 and 272. This is because you want to get hit by Lilligant to bring it low, then set the screen, then get hit by Cresselia afterwards to make sure you go down. No other stats matter here other than your speed stat. You can adjust your speed EVs until you're in the correct range. Next, all members will need a Bisharp. You want 31 HP, SPDF, and attack on this, along with 252 SPDF EVs and 252 attack EVs. Make sure that he has the Defiant ability, boosting his attack upon entry rather than lowering it. You need any plus attack nature that's not minus SPDF, and I recommend not running minus defense, because if you're on the left side, the Ninetales will use Foul Play and do extra damage if you're minus defense. Use Adamant or Lonely Nature for this, and you can try to get decent defenses on this, especially if you're going to be on the left side, for the Foul Play. Speed is actually optimal to be any random value. This increases the likelihood that you will not have a speed tie with your teammates. You will use the moves Sucker Punch, Assurance, and Dark Pulse. You can learn the move Sucker Punch at the Unova Move Tutor in the PC. It'll also be holding the item Assault Vest. From there, we have a lot of variety in our builds. We'll basically be running a max SPDF and HP, super bulky mon, and spamming Seismic Toss and Psywave for damage. This allows us a lot of survivability, while also cycling a physical and special move with different typings throughout the fight. Typically, you want to match the Pokemon of the people in your team to boost your speed down from the Mirror Bind mechanic because of the Trick Room. We also want to match our teammates' mons to make the special defense ties across all mons. This will help confuse the AI into spreading more damage. If you have a max SPDF Politoed next to a max SPDF Blissey, the extra SPDF stat on the Blissey will actually cause the AI to more commonly prioritize the Politoed. So organize with your team to ensure that all the same mons are out at the same time. Let's go over some of the most optimal and most common mons for this strategy. Blissey is the GOAT of SPDF, so everyone should bring one with max IV and EV in HP and SPDF, along with a plus SPDF nature. Again, you want to roll a random speed to help reduce the chance that you'll have a speed tie with someone else. These should have the moves Seismic Toss, Psywave, Light Screen, and Captivate. Captivate isn't super necessary to choose, but if you need to change your physical special order, it's a good option. Also, gender doesn't actually matter for Captivate during raids, so don't worry about that. You'll run a Covert Cloak on Blissey to remove the minus SPDF drop chance from Psychic. After Blissey goes down, you'll want 3 people on your team with another bulky mon. I recommend Snorlax next. You'll run the same build here, however, you can actually add Amnesia to help recover in case you get the minus SPDF drop from Psychic. Just replace Light Screen since you should have Light Screen up at this point anyway. Put a Citrus Berry or leftovers on it to help keep it alive. Alongside the Snorlaxes, you'll also want 1 Tyranitar for your group. This needs 31 HP, SPDF, and attack, and Adamant, Lonely, or Brave Nature. Train it with 252 attack and SPDF EVs. This one will hold a Choice Band and spam Assurance as long as it can. Next, you'll need any 2 other bulky mons with the same build. Max SPDF, HP, plus SPDF Nature, and you're going to run Seismic Toss, Psywave, and Light Screen or Captivate or even Soft Boil. The most common picks for this are Politoed and Clefable. Just make sure not to run Drizzle on Politoed because we want to keep Sand up. Also, make sure Clefable doesn't have Unaware, otherwise it'll ignore the Captivate effect from Cresselia. There are a ton of options for this though, such as Slowking, Hypno, Electabuzz with Eviolite, Bronzong that can use Psywave and Gyro Ball, Dusclops can use Nightshade. Pretty much any of these bulky mons you can make work as long as they learn 2 of these set damage attacks. Slap a Healing Berry or leftovers on any of these to help sustain them. The last thing you're going to want in your group is 1 person with a Crocodile, with the exact same build as Tyranitar. This is just to help cover the Assurance after Tyranitar goes down. Those are all the mons we're going to need, so let's take a look at the extremely important setup steps for this raid. The first thing you should do is name your mons with the character name in it. This will make shot calling on it significantly easier. For example, I name my Bisharp Jinxed Bisharp. On that note, make sure you have a designated shot caller. typically your most experienced player or someone who's done the fight in the past and knows it well. This person can keep track of the speed orders and the last used move and clearly state who is going to use each move each turn. You can definitely offer input if you're not the shot caller, like reminders of light screen or suggesting captivate or soft boil, but don't make a play until your official shot caller makes a call, so you don't end up in a situation like this.
I'm coming up with 32.33 repeating, of course, percentage of survival.
Oh, that's a lot better than we usually do.
Alright, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
Oh my god, he just ran in.
Here's a quick example of how we organized our run. We had our goated shot caller, Bob and the Mob, calling our shots.
So last attack was Assurance. So orders Bob, CJ, me who jinxed. I'm gonna Psywave. CJ is going to Seismic Toss. Venu's gonna Psywave, Jinx is gonna toss.
I also highly recommend using mics for at least your shot caller. You can use in-game chat if you need to, but this is already a complex fight, and it's a very long fight, so going into a chat will definitely help make things run smoother and faster, along with relieve some stress on your shot caller. Also, there is no 100% solve to this fight. However, this fight has a lot less RNG than any other strat that I've seen. That's not to say that there won't be a better strat in the future, but this one works very well from my experience, and I'm very satisfied with it currently. Some examples of some bad RNG, just to be realistic, are Psychic proccing its 10% SPDF drop, making the AI target a squishier one more, which has caused the others to die. In our case, we had a SPDF drop from Psychic, which made Cresselia target it further, which caused a second consecutive SPDF drop, which led to a quick kill. This has been solved in part with the updated set using Covert Cloak on Blissey and Amnesia on Snorlax, so it's much less likely now, unless you have really bad RNG. We also had a burn from Ninetales Flamethrower on one of our Assurance users, which caused a lower damage output overall. This one is much more manageable, but can decrease your success rate of the strategy. In another case, our Snorlax got crit, so even though we had Captivate on Cress, putting it at a -2 special attack, and we had Light Screen up, the crit bypasses the stat drop and the Light Screen boost, and it actually killed Snorlax pretty quickly. However, with all that said, we even succeeded the run where the Snorlax has died quickly, and the run has an extra mon built into it for each person, so even if you have bad RNG mid-fight, you do have a fallback. The fail state would typically be that you get multiple unlucky situations in a row. The last part of the setup is to ensure that you do not have any speed ties. Make sure to run speed calcs and include the -6 speed due to mirror bind. This -6 will introduce speed ties due to rounding even if they have different speed stats. You typically want at least 2 to 4 stat point differences to ensure that there's no speed ties, but make sure to double check this. If you need to adjust your speed, do not touch your SPDF EVs. Remove either attack or HP to compensate. You can use the calculator linked in the description below to calculate your speed and put in your IV and then set it to -6 to see what your speed will be after the fact. Here's an example of a Bisharp, which one has 25 speed IV, the other one has 23 speed IV, so you would think that they wouldn't be speed tied. However, at -6, these round off to 42. Even if we compensate by adding 4 speed EVs to the 25 one, it's still 42 because of the rounding. In this case, even with a 2 IV stat difference, you'd have to have 8 EVs before you break the speed tie. So make sure you do calculate these before you get into the run. Before we get into the run, I just want to give a huge thank you to Murkies for leading the development of this strategy, along with Grunthis for helping guide me personally through some of the more intricate details of the strategy, and to all the other people that were involved in the development of the strat. Check out the full credits in the document linked in the description, along with all the details that you need for running the strat. Now let's take a look at the run, and I'll walk you through turn by turn how you use each of the different Pokemon in this build. So starting off, we have our Hippowdon on the left along with Sableye, and our Plusle and Rotom on the right. Our Sableye will trick the Toxic Orb onto Cresselia, our Plusle will skill swap onto Lilligant, our Rotom will set the light screen, and our Hippowdon will set up Sand and captivate the Ninetales, weakening its Flamethrower. Make sure that you skill swap onto Lilligant and not Cresselia, otherwise Cresselia will drop the skill swap after a turn or two. From here, we go into turn 2, where the namesake of the strategy, the Bulky Bisharp, start coming in. Our Hippowdon should be at full health here, and we'll tank 4 Psychics on this turn. We're going to use our Bisharps to Sucker Punch with 1 and then Assurance with the other 2. From here, we basically just want our Bisharps to last as long as possible, which is what makes this strategy different from many others. Most just put in a frail one that gets knocked out pretty quick, but in our strategy, we're going to be using the Bisharps as long as possible. Going into turn 3, you're going to continue with 1 using Sucker Punch and the other 3 using Assurance. After this turn, you're going to start having to pay attention to the special and physical attacks, and going into turn 4, you're going to make sure your speed order is sorted and you're alternating Dark Pulse, Assurance. Make sure you use Dark Pulse first here since Assurance was used last on the previous turn, and then you can go Dark Pulse, Assurance based on your speed. Now Trick Room is set up, so make sure you're in opposite speed order from here. We're also just going to be alternating again, Dark Pulse, Assurance. But again, you have your Trick Room up, so make sure that you've accounted for this in your decision making. We're going to continue with this until our Bisharps go down. This should be on the next turn, which will be convenient anyway because we're going to start being unable to alternate dark moves. Even though they're special and physical, we're going to need to switch up the typing on our next turn. As mentioned, once one goes down, all of them share the same fate and they all go down. So now we're all going to transition into our Blissey. We still have our light screen up, so we're going to utilize that for the next couple turns. Here, we need to really make sure that we are communicating and we're alternating Seismic Toss and Psywave. Pay attention to your light screen as well, and if it ever comes down, just make sure that you reset it. You can also use Toxic if you want, but it doesn't actually do any more damage than a Psywave or Seismic Toss would, so just use it if you need to set up for your Tyranitar coming in and you want to set up a Seismic Toss on the end, and maybe you just need to kill one of the turns. You can also use Captivate for the same reason. It's not a bad idea to have Soft Boiled on here too, just in case one person gets bad RNG and gets focused down. In that case, you can use Soft Boil to heal up, and you can keep them up for even longer. So we got our next light screen up now, and we're just continuing alternating our Psywave and Seismic Toss. We're going to continue this alternating with Blissey until they go down, so I'm just going to skip forward until that happens. So our Blisseys go down, and next we're going to bring in our Tyranitar and Snorlaxes. Tyranitar is when things start to speed up a little bit because he can hit a little bit harder than the 1.4% of Psywave and Seismic Toss. He's just going to spam Assurance, and we're going to make sure that we alternate and ensure that you always have a Psywave go off before your Assurance. Otherwise, you'll be doing 2 physical attacks in a row, and your Assurance won't go off. Our Snorlaxes got really unlucky in this run, like I mentioned previously in the video, and a crit went through and just knocked one out pretty much instantly. The nice thing with the strat is we have an extra mon built in, so even with that, we are still good to go. We just bring our Clefables in, adapt a little bit, and just continue on with the basic strategy. Psywave and Seismic Toss spamming, and keeping that Assurance up for as much damage as we can do. So at this point, we want to make sure that we have Captivate up so that Cresselia doesn't hit as hard, especially after that Calm Mind that it pops. You definitely want to get a Captivate off. Because one Captivate, which would have been fine, would have put us in an order to go Psywave, Seismic Toss, Assurance. However, that is not what we wanted to do because you cannot do Seismic Toss and then Assurance. So we double Captivated to reduce Cresselia's damage even further. And then we popped the Psywave so that we could get the Assurance off. Again, make sure your Clefables here do not have the Unaware ability, otherwise the -2 special attack will be ignored and that's not ideal. Also make sure at least one of you has light screen so that you can keep your light screen up. Again, Soft Boiled's a nice choice too in case one gets low on HP. If it gets bad RNG and targeted down, you can just Soft Boil up like we did here to bring it back up. Through this phase, we're just going to continue spamming our attacks, so I will skip forward until we bring out the next group of mons. So our Clefables go down, and now we're going to bring out our Crocodile as our Assurance user, and our last bulky mon. Again, you usually won't even get to this stage, you probably won't need your last Pokemon in this fight. However, since we got that unlucky crit, this is just our backup contingency plan. Again, Crocodile, just like a Tyranitar, is going to be spamming Assurance, and just make sure you're always getting a Psywave off before you use that Assurance. And just like that, Cresselia is down. So that's all you need to know to get your very own Cresselia. Hopefully this strategy works as well for you as it did for us. If it did, let me know in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions to improve it, also let us know. Again, a huge thank you to Murkies and his team for developing this strategy. If this video did help you out, make sure to leave it a like and subscribe for more PokeMMO content just like this. If you want to go above and beyond with your support, feel free to check out the join button and you can support the channel even further. Thank you so much to our current subscribers and members. That's all I have for you today, so I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one.